If you'd told me 3 months ago that my life would change because of a crooked paper sign taped to a coffee shop window, I probably would have laughed and kept walking. But that's exactly what happened. I'd just gotten fired. Technically, they called it downsizing, but when you're the only name on the layoff list and the most junior copywriter at a boutique agency that just lost its biggest client, it doesn't take a genius to do the math. So there I was, wandering the city with a box full of my desk junk, cheap headphones, 3 half-dead pens, and a cactus I hadn't watered in weeks, when I passed this tiny cafe I'd never paid much attention to before, Java Junction. The sign out front said, "No Wi-Fi, talk to each other like it's 1995, which normally would have annoyed me, but that day it kind of made me smile. I wasn't in the mood for scrolling or answering my mom's texts anyway, and that's when I saw it, a piece of printer paper taped inside the window. Help wanted. No jerks. Experience a plus, but we'll train the right vibe." I paused, read it twice, then walked in. The place was exactly what you'd expect from a local coffee shop that had survived, despite 3 Starbucks within a 10-block radius. Dim lighting, mismatched furniture, and the comforting smell of espresso and cinnamon. There were only 2 people inside, a girl behind the counter who looked like she'd bite me if I ordered anything with more than 2 words, and a guy crouched near the espresso machine, messing with some wires. He stood up before I could say anything. Dark hair, messy but intentional, faded t-shirt, tattoo sleeve, a towel slung over one shoulder. He looked at me with a calm, unreadable expression. "You hear about the sign?" he asked. I blinked. "Yeah, maybe. I just saw it." "Cool. You know how to make coffee?" "Not professionally." The girl snorted without looking up. He didn't react. "I'm Jamie," he said, holding out a hand. "Eli. Start now." And that's how it started. No application, no resume. Just like that, I had a job again. Jamie owned the place, inherited some money, bought the cafe on a whim, and ran it like a cozy social experiment. The coffee was good. The pastries were mediocre. But the vibe? The vibe was kind of addictive. At first, I sucked. I burned milk, mixed up orders, and broke a glass on my 3rd day. But Jamie never got mad. He just fixed things quietly, showed me how to do it better, then went back to wiping down the counter. He was quiet but not shy. Friendly, but not exactly open. There was something withheld about him. Like he had a whole second life he didn't talk about. I'd catch him staring out the front window sometimes, lost in thought. And for reasons I didn't understand yet, I wanted to know what he was thinking about. One night, after closing, we were stacking chairs, and I asked him, "So why a coffee shop?" He shrugged. Felt like something I could make mine. That answer stuck with me. That night, I watched him walk around the empty cafe, turning off the lights one by one. And I realized for the first time that I was starting to look forward to work, not because of the job, but because of him. By week 3, I knew how Jamie took his coffee. Black, 2 sugars, no milk. I also knew he hated podcasts, thought brunch was a scam, and had a soft spot for Fleetwood Mac that he would never admit to. I learned these things not because he told me, but because I started paying attention. Jamie wasn't exactly the "let's grab beers and talk about our feelings" type, but sometimes, during the lull between the morning rush and the late lunch trickle, he'd sit on the stool behind the counter and let things slip out in the spaces between words. Like how he used to be pre-med, dropped out junior year, or how his mom called every Sunday but he never answered, or how he hadn't been on a date in over a year. I didn't push, just listened, nodding when it felt right, keeping my own confessions locked up tight. Because the truth was, I was starting to like him, not just in the "he's a cool guy" kind of way, but in the "I need to stop staring at his hands when he wipes down tables" kind of way. It was stupid. He was my boss. He was quiet and unreadable, and I had no clue if he was into guys. But then something happened. It was a Tuesday, around 6:15 p.m. We were closing early because of a busted water pipe, and Jamie had just finished sweeping while I dealt with the register. I was wiping the counter when he said, without looking at me, "You want to grab dinner?" I froze. "Like, now?" He finally glanced up. "Yeah, I mean, unless you've got plans." I didn't. Of course I didn't. "Yeah, okay, sure." We ended up at this tiny taco place a few blocks away. The kind with peeling vinyl booths and cash-only signs. Jamie ordered for both of us without asking. 3 al pastor, 1 chicken, 2 Doritos. I didn't mind. We sat in a booth near the window, our legs brushing under the table. It wasn't an accident. I didn't move my leg, neither did he. It was the first time I saw Jamie laugh, like really laugh. He told me a story about a customer who tried to return a muffin because it wasn't emotionally satisfying. I laughed so hard I almost snorted horchata. It was easy. Too easy. And that scared me. After dinner, we walked back in silence. The streets were cooling down, and our arms brushed once, twice. The third time, I let my hand hang a little closer to his, just to see. He didn't move away. Back at the shop, we paused in front of the door. It was dark inside, the sign flipped to closed, the chairs stacked like tired sentinels. "I'll see you tomorrow," I said, hand half raising in a wave. Jamie nodded. Then he hesitated. "You want to come in for a bit?" My heart stuttered. "Sure." We didn't turn on the lights, just sat in the semi-dark, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. He handed me a beer from the back and popped his open with a bottle opener that said, "World's okayest boss." After a few sips, he said, "You're not what I expected." "Is that a good thing?" He looked at me, his face unreadable. Then, softer, "Yeah." The silence stretched. I didn't know what to do with it. My pulse was loud in my ears. I should have looked away. I didn't. And then, he leaned in. Not a lot, just a little. Barely enough to notice. But it was enough. I kissed him first. It was quick. Tentative. The kind of kiss you give when you're not sure if it's okay, but you need to try. Jamie pulled back, eyes searching mine. For a second, I thought I'd messed everything up. That he'd laugh, or walk out, or say something that would make me want to crawl under the counter and never come out. But he didn't. He leaned back in, and this time, he kissed me. The second kiss was nothing like the first. It was slower, deeper, more certain, like Jamie had made up his mind about something in the quiet space between heartbeats. His hand came up to rest on my jaw, thumb brushing against the side of my face in a way that made me forget how to breathe. We kissed until the beer warmed in our hands, until the fridge's hum was the only sound left between us. When we finally pulled apart, Jamie didn't say anything. He just sat back, eyes still on mine, like he was waiting to see if I regretted it. I didn't. "Was that weird?" I asked, my voice low. He gave a soft, crooked smile. It was good, weird. We didn't label anything. No dramatic declarations, no awkward, "so what does this mean" conversation. Just a quiet understanding that something had shifted, that we'd crossed a line neither of us really wanted to step back from. The next few days at work felt like a balancing act. We didn't talk about the kiss, but everything was a little different. Jamie's gaze would linger a second longer when I walked past. He started brushing his fingers over mine when handing me receipts. And once, when we both reached for the same cup, our hands stayed there for just a beat too long. We were careful. Or tried to be. But the shop was small, and tension has a way of filling all the corners. Late one night, I stayed behind to help him close. It was raining. The windows fogged up and streaked with city light. Jamie locked the front door, then turned to me, looking tired but something else too. Something soft. "You don't have to stay late every time," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "I know," I said, "but I want to." He watched me for a moment, then tossed the rag on the counter and stepped closer. "Come here." I didn't hesitate. He kissed me again, slower this time. The kind of kiss that said, "I've been thinking about this all day." We made out like teenagers behind the counter, his hands in my hair, my back pressed to the espresso machine. I felt reckless and weightless and totally, stupidly happy. Eventually, we pulled away, breathing hard, forehead to forehead. "This is gonna get complicated, isn't it?" I asked, Jamie nodded. Yeah, but he didn't move, and neither did I. That night, I didn't go home. We didn't even talk about it. After locking up, we walked back to his apartment like it was the most natural thing in the world. He made us tea, of all things, and we sat on his tiny couch in silence, sipping like nothing had changed. But everything had. When he finally reached over and laced our fingers together, I didn't say a word. I just squeezed back. By the next morning, we still hadn't talked about what we were doing. Jamie made coffee like he always did. Quiet, methodical, measuring the grounds like it mattered. And I watched from his kitchen table, still in the clothes I'd worn the day before. My shirt smelled faintly like espresso and rain. His hoodie, now hanging off the back of the chair, smelled like him. We didn't kiss again before I left. Just a quick, see you later, and a nod. But that nod meant something. I could feel it in my chest all day. Things didn't get weird exactly. They just became delicate. At the shop, we kept it professional. Kind of. No touching, no lingering stares. But the air between us felt heavier. Like everyone could tell something had shifted, even if no one said it. Becca, the girl who worked weekday mornings, gave me a look one Thursday while I was restocking syrup pumps. "You and Jamie hooking up or something?" she asked, casual as hell. I nearly dropped the vanilla. "What? No. What makes you say that?" She shrugged. "You've got that, I know what his bed smells like, glow." I didn't answer, just muttered something about inventory and walked off. Jamie never brought it up. Neither did I. But one night, after another quiet close, he asked, "You want to come over again?" "Yeah," I said. "I do." It became our pattern. Shop by day, his place by night. We'd eat leftovers, or order Thai, watch old movies on his busted projector, and fall asleep shoulder to shoulder on his couch. Sometimes we'd talk about our pasts. Sometimes we'd just listen to the rain. Sometimes he'd pull me into his lap and kiss me until the movie credits rolled and we forgot the plot entirely. He never said boyfriend. I didn't either. Maybe because it was still new, or because neither of us wanted to jinx it. But the first time I saw Jamie lean over and rest his chin on my shoulder while I poured a cappuccino during a morning rush, I knew. This wasn't casual. We weren't just figuring things out. We were building something. It wasn't perfect. There were rough edges. Moments when we bumped into each other in the kitchen too hard, or when I made a joke he didn't laugh at. Once, I got frustrated with the espresso machine and snapped at him without thinking. He didn't say anything, just quietly went to the back. I followed. "Hey, sorry. That wasn't fair." He shrugged, folding a towel. "I know you're stressed. Just don't take it out on me." I nodded. "I won't. Promise." And that was that. No drama, no storming out. Just honesty. A few nights later, curled up in his bed, I asked, "Do you ever think about what this is? Like, what we're doing?" He looked at me for a long time before answering. "Every night." That was the closest we came to defining it, and honestly, it was enough. Fall crept in slowly, like it wasn't sure it was invited. The coffee shop smelled more like cinnamon than espresso now, and every other customer ordered pumpkin something. We leaned into it. Seasonal menus, candles on the windowsills, indie playlists that Jamie pretended to hate but always let run. We were happy, I think. But sometimes happiness feels like walking across ice. Beautiful, quiet, and just unstable enough that you're always waiting for the crack. It happened on a Friday. One of those chilly, golden days where everything looks prettier than it really is. A guy walked in. Tall, scruffy, late 20s. He ordered a flat white and leaned against the counter like he'd been here 100 times. Jamie froze when he saw him. "Hey," the guy said, like it had only been a week instead of whatever amount of time it had actually been. Jamie nodded, then looked past him like he was trying not to. "You working?" the guy asked. Jamie glanced at me. "Yeah, just a sec." Then he walked around the counter and out the front door with the guy, leaving me behind the register with a line of customers and about 500 questions. Becca raised an eyebrow from the dish sink. X? She mouthed. I shrugged, but my gut already knew the answer. Jamie came back 20 minutes later. Said nothing. Picked up a rag and started wiping down tables like nothing had happened. I waited until closing to ask. So, I said, leaning on the counter as he flipped chairs. That guy. He didn't look at me. Old friend, right? A pause. You don't trust me? I hesitated. I just didn't know there was someone. There isn't, he said quickly. Too quickly. We didn't talk much after that. That night, I didn't go to his place. I walked home in the cold, hands shoved deep in my hoodie pocket, trying to ignore the part of me that wanted to text him just to say goodnight. But I didn't. The next day, he showed up at my door with 2 coffees and a crooked smile. Still mad, I took the coffee. Not mad, just caught off guard. He sat down on my couch, letting the silence fill the space between us. He was my ex, he finally said. We were together a long time. It didn't end great. I nodded. You could have just said that. I know. Another beat of quiet. I'm not good at this, Jamie added, at being open. I forget that you're not a mind reader. Yeah, well, I said, neither are you. We didn't kiss right away. We just sat there, side by side, until his hand found mine, and I let it. Later that night, in the quiet, he whispered, You scare me a little. Why? Because I could actually fall for you. I rested my forehead against his. You already are. After that night, something shifted again, but this time in a gentler way. Jamie was more careful, not with distance, but with presence. He'd touch my back lightly when passing me in the kitchen. Ask how I slept. Bring me coffee without asking how I took it, because he already knew. We didn't talk about labels. Still no boyfriend talk. No Facebook status changes, no promises. But when he gave me a key to his apartment, I knew what it meant. I'm not great with people, he said, handing it to me like it was a receipt. But you don't make me tired. That was Jamie speak, for I trust you. I'm letting you in. I started leaving a toothbrush there, a change of clothes, my book on his nightstand. He pretended not to notice, but he always made space. One rainy Thursday night, we were lying on his couch. No music, no TV. Just the sound of the storm outside and his fingers absently tracing circles on my knee under the blanket. You ever wonder how long this can last? I asked. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me with those quiet eyes of his, like he was measuring my heartbeat in the dark. Every day, he said. But you wanted to? I asked. He nodded, slowly. Yeah, I do. There was a simplicity to Jamie, something steady, like a tide. He didn't say a lot. Didn't need to. When he held my hand in public for the first time, it wasn't a performance, just instinct. Just this quiet, defiant gesture that said, this is mine without needing words. But not everything was simple. He still didn't tell people. Not really. His regulars at the shop didn't know. His friends, if he had any close ones, never came around. When we were alone, he was all in. But the second we stepped into the world, he slipped back into neutral. It started to weigh on me. One night, after a long shift and 2 broken machines, I brought it up. Are you ashamed of us? He looked up from the sink, soap suds dripping from his fingers. What? You never tell anyone. It's like I'm this secret side quest you're doing between lattes. Jamie stared at me for a moment, then rinsed his hands and dried them slowly, the silence dragging. I'm not ashamed, he said finally. I'm scared. Of what? He looked away. Of what happens when people know. Of what I lose. I didn't say anything. Just stood there, tired and frustrated and full of feelings I didn't know how to name. Then, quietly, he added, But I'm more scared of losing you. I exhaled, sat down on the counter stool, hands in my lap. I'm not asking you to shout it from the rooftops, I said. Just don't hide like you're waiting for it to end." He came over, stood between my knees, and rested his forehead against mine. "I don't want it to end." "Then don't act like it already has." 2 weeks passed. Not much changed, and yet everything felt a little different. Jamie didn't suddenly become a PDA expert or start introducing me as his boyfriend to every customer who walked through the door. But he started showing up in smaller ways that meant something. He kissed me on the cheek once in the alley behind the cafe when we were taking out trash. He didn't even look around first, just did it, like it was no big deal. And one morning, a quiet Sunday, when we were both running on 2 hours of sleep and a gallon of caffeine, he reached for my hand as we walked to the bagel shop down the block. Just like that, fingers laced, no hesitation, no explanation. I didn't say anything, just squeezed once and kept walking. It hit me later that morning, while we were standing in line, surrounded by people who didn't know or didn't care who we were, that I hadn't felt that kind of weightlessness in years. Like for once, the person I wanted to be with wanted to be seen with me. Later that week, Jamie did something I never expected. He closed the shop early. No emergency. No water pipe. He just turned the sign at 3 p.m. and said, "Come with me." We drove in silence. He wouldn't say where we were going. Turned out to be a park outside the city. The kind with a winding walking path and a lake that caught every inch of sunlight. We sat on a bench overlooking the water, Jamie holding a crumpled paper bag with 2 gas station sandwiches and a couple of bottled teas. "This where you take all your flings?" I asked, teasing. He shook his head. "Never brought anyone here." That shut me up. We ate. We watched a kid lose a kite to a tree. And when the sun started to dip, Jamie said, "You ever think about staying?" "Staying?" "Here, in this, with me." I looked at him, trying to read what he was really asking. "Jamie," I said carefully, "are you asking me to move in?" He shrugged like it was nothing, but I could see the nervous twitch in his jaw. "I'm saying you already keep half your crap at my place, and I like waking up with you. So yeah, maybe." It wasn't a speech. It wasn't dramatic, but coming from Jamie, it was everything. I leaned against his shoulder and said, "Yeah, I'll stay." And we sat there, watching the lake glow gold as the air got colder and our hands stayed warm together. Moving in wasn't a grand event. No trucks, no family help. Just a few boxes shoved into Jamie's tiny hallway, my cactus sitting proudly on the windowsill, and a shared drawer in the bathroom that we both pretended wasn't gross. The first week was chaotic. I knocked over his French press. He got annoyed that I folded towels the wrong way. We both agreed to never share a toothbrush, no matter how in love we got. It was weird, messy, perfect. Living with someone means seeing everything. Their tired face before coffee. Their weird sleep noises. The way they sometimes get quiet when they're thinking about something they don't know how to say. One night, Jamie had a dream. Something bad. I woke up to him, turning restlessly, whispering, "Stop," over and over. I touched his shoulder gently. "Hey," I whispered. "It's okay." He startled, looked at me, eyes wide and wet. "Sorry," he muttered. "I didn't mean to." I didn't let him finish, just pulled him close and let his head rest against my chest until he fell back asleep. In the morning, he made breakfast without saying a word about it, but when he handed me my plate, he leaned in and kissed my neck softly. That was Jamie speak for thank you. We never talked about forever. But one rainy afternoon, he came into the living room where I was editing something on my laptop and dropped a folded piece of paper on my chest. "What's this?" I asked. "Our new menu ideas," he said casually, thinking about expanding. I opened it. At the bottom, under the mock logo and drink list, was a name. "Eli's Blend!" I looked up. Jamie wasn't smiling, he was just watching me, a little unsure, a little vulnerable. "You said once you wanted something that felt like yours," he said. "Thought maybe we could build something that's ours." I nodded, trying not to let it show how much that hit me. "I like the name," I said. That night, we opened the front windows of the cafe, even though it was drizzling. We let the smell of rain and coffee fill the shop. played music too loud, sat on the counter like idiots. And I thought about how sometimes the best things start with a sign in a window